Well, good morning, everybody. Hello and welcome in on this Thursday. Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. I'm here in Studio B, just outside network control, Barry in Virginia with
Yep.
Troy Baseball. Blacksburg, I believe, is the location today.
Yep. Last day in Blacksburg. Trojans baseball fell to Virginia Tech yesterday. Pitchers duel 3-1. Right after the show today, we're heading to Harrisonburg, Virginia for a weekend series against James Madison. I have been on the road for now 8 days, and we've still got another 3.5 days to go before we head back to Troy. So, yeah, I have.
Does that mean a lengthy homestand is in the future?
I sure hope so. We've got, I think, a road game at Alabama State mixed in sometime in the next 2 weeks. But the next 2 weekends after today will be home series, and I'm looking forward to it. I've already well started into wearing clothes twice now. I think I packed enough underwear, but the clothes are on the second rotation through.
Well, you got to go commando. Just go with it.
Yeah.
Just got to do what you got to do.
This is how John lives his life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we're looking forward to a big weekend, not only the Masters.
Yep.
But everybody's having their spring game this weekend. I say everybody. Troy's E-Day is Saturday afternoon at 2. Alabama's and Auburn's A-Day are this weekend as well. Auburn is positioning their A-Day as just that. It is a weekend.
Okay.
Alabama,
like
A-Day game. Yeah. Which was last weekend. Both Auburn and Alabama have their spring games, their A-Day games, and they're both sponsored by Golden Flake. Golden Flake has been around. They love them an A-Day game.
Yeah, they do.
They do.
They like an A-Day. Sweet Heat pork rinds. They'll be giving those out, I guess. I'm a big fan of those.
Is that a Golden Flake deal?
I believe it's a gold. Yeah, okay. It's a Golden Flake product. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Alabama's annual Golden Flake A-Day is scheduled for Saturday at noon inside Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Admission to A-Day free of charge to all fans. Free public parking.
Whoa.
Wow.
Now, wait a minute. If I own a piece of property and you want to park on it, you mean I got to let you park for free?
No. They've got certain lots that are free. That's a good question.
Yes.
So many different things going on there, including, what did I see here? I wanted to ask you about this. Here we go. Prior to A-Day, Alabama will host its annual Tide Pride Breakfast at Coleman Coliseum. The event will feature head coach Kalen DeBoer along with director of athletics Greg Gurn with a special pie chart to tell you just how much they really need to be competitive and ante up. That'll be 8:30.
Yeah, haven't we heard enough of those?
Yeah.
Barry, that's exactly what it is. They're going to give you a biscuit and maybe some cold scrambled eggs that they pour out of the carton.
One of those ice cold pats of butter that you can't spread across your biscuit.
They're just there to try to schmooze you. And speaking of that, we talked about this yesterday. It was an article that we referenced about, how broke is Alabama? Because Greg Burns certainly has made it known that we need the money. We're not flush with cash. Barry, how long is it going to be? And we've talked about this, but now I think it might be getting a little closer to becoming a reality.
Yeah.
How far away are we from Golden Flake Stadium at Bryant-Denny Saban Field or Yellowwood Jordan Hare Stadium?
Well, considering yesterday at Virginia Tech, I broadcast the baseball game from English Field at Atlantic Union Bank Stadium.
See?
They're doing it at a lot of places. Same thing happens. South Alabama's football stadium is Whitney Bank Field, whatever it's called. Yeah, Hancock Whitney Field. And it's happening all over the place. Now, Auburn and Alabama, I guess the reputation is definitely Alabama's. that they are the old guard. They are the last defenders of all things sacred and all that. They ain't going to be on the cutting edge of that. But I do think it's closer than it's ever been, especially the fans. They'll get used to it, or they'll be clamoring for it when it turns out Alabama doesn't make the playoff again this year. You got to get some players. I don't want to have to pay any more money than we are because we're paying out the wazoo for them right now, but I'm going to get some more money. Yep, Golden Flake.
Well, you got to get creative. And I'm not saying they're not getting creative, but if you are, let's hear about it. Because Tennessee's basically slapped an NIL fee on their tickets. If you're going to buy Tennessee football tickets, 10% of it or whatever is going toward NIL. I mean, I think the fans would have could stomach that a lot easier knowing, I'll buy tickets and if 10% goes to NIL, I'm good with that. Yeah, okay. Get creative. And if you got to slap a corporate logo on Bryant-Denny Stadium, do it. I mean, I quit nickel and diming me and go after somebody and put a name on a stadium or surcharge on some tickets or whatever. I mean, hey, if they're going to call it Golden Flake A-Day, can we not just go ahead and call it the Coca-Cola season of 2025 or whatever? Look, if you need some marketing help, I'm here. I'll help you out.
And you've got so many other things going on. Auburn has promoted theirs as A-Day weekend.
Whoa.
And on the website, it says, come home for the weekend.
Anything about family on that?
Oh, you got to know it. Absolutely. They want you to be there tomorrow, stay through 10th, 11th, through Sunday.
Whoa. I mean, is it that much to do? 3 days in Auburn?
Oh, hey, listen. All that stuff. All that
3 hours is about all I can take.
Yeah. You got, like, for instance, tomorrow. Is that the A-Day itself on Saturday? You got the Tiger Trail induction ceremony. Coca-Cola Fan Fest opens at 10 a.m. A-Day Fan Day, all this kind of stuff. Alabama, and you talk about being creative. Alabama, they still have a few more video board messages available. It says almost gone. Buy now, $50. You can get your video board message put up during the game. Locker room tour at 10 a.m. on Friday. That's $30. You can, starting at 10:30, going throughout really the morning on Friday, the morning on Saturday. All of the Saturday locker room tours in the morning have all been sold out.
Look, I locker room tours.
If you want to be the kickoff captain at Alabama, and you're not the only one, I think there's a couple, 3, maybe 4. That's $500. Kickoff captain means you have absolutely nothing to do with the football team, nothing to do with the preparation, nothing to do with the coaching, nothing to do with the decision making. You're just kicking in money, and you get to run out with the football team. $500.
Is that still up for grabs? Nobody's bought that yet?
I think there's more than one.
Oh, more than
one. Because it says right over there on the left, it says almost gone.
So here, look.
They're being creative. They're doing everything they can think of. $100 gets you into the South Champions Club for A-Day.
Look, you're right. They're being creative, but they're also being cheesy. I'm talking about being creative, and let's get it all done in one fell swoop here. Just get some big corporation, some big company to slap their name on that stadium, on that field.
Yeah.
Charge them several $1 million to do it. And this nickel and dime BS, $30 for this, $20 for this, $500 for this. I mean, I guess it does add up. But based on what it costs to play big boy football these days, $30 ain't helping you. Now, if you want to get 10,000 people that are giving you $18 a month every month for a year, okay, I guess that does add up a little.
That does help. Yeah, it does help.
But I mean, give me a break on this. Well, we'll give $30 for that. I mean, it kind of, to me, reeks of desperation. I mean, they're getting creative, but they're getting a little out of whack with it. I mean, Really? $30 to go look at some half-dressed men putting pads on to go practice? Like, I've been in that locker room, and it's ain't that great. I mean, hey, why?
It's a locker room. After everything else, I mean, it's clean. It's nice. They got big lockers. Unlike when John was playing in high school, when they basically gave him a hook on the wall.
Yeah, and it stunk and it smelled in that locker room.
Are you? I mean, it's a locker room, Wang.
Yeah.
I've been in locker rooms. It's a locker room. They get dressed in there.
Got some cool lighting in there, but it's a locker room.
Yeah.
But I just I don't get it. I just. And when this house settlement thing plays out, is that going to be the end all be all, or just a Band-Aid?
That's just a roadmap. That's all that is. It's just a set of rules that people can start following.
$20.5 million that supposedly is coming to every team. Is that going to make everything better? You're still not going to have schools out there doing a little extra to get what they want and to separate themselves. You better believe they are.
Because the schools have got to come up with that $20 million because they're going to be paying the players, directly. And believe me, $20 million is a lot anyway. But $20 million at $30 a pop, that is a whole lot of video board messages out there that you
better believe it.
So,
speaking of $20 million, I want to get in this in just a minute. So let me write that down so I don't forget. You're right, Barry. The Masters is underway at Augusta National. The ceremonial first tee shots were hit earlier today. You had mentioned that before we went on the air.
You were right. Gary Player's still alive. As a matter of fact, he's what did we say? 86, 89, something like that. Player looks better than Nicklaus and Tom Watson.
Sure.
And they're both about 20-something years, 10, 11, 15 years younger than he is.
Yeah, Nicklaus had to kind of waddle up there last year, I remember. What I want to know, though, Barry, and there again, I don't know how these guys pick the short straw, but you know me. I'm not a morning golfer. I got to be up, drink some coffee, kind of do some other stuff. I'm more of an afternoon golfer, but I prefer late afternoon, actually, if anybody's looking for a game. Yeah. But Davis, Riley, and Patton Kazar teed off at 6:40 this morning. 6:40? I mean, is the sun up in Augusta at 6:40? Gee, my netty.
Mike Weir and some guy named Kim teeing off about 10 minutes ago. They're just now on the course. Ooh.
Unbelievable.
Zach Johnson
I just don't
teeing off this very minute.
I mean, Mike Weir's a former champion. What's he got to tee off so early for? I get it. Tomorrow they'll tee off in the afternoon. You get on the first two rounds, you get in the morning or the afternoon. But man, that's 7:40 Eastern time, obviously. But I mean, gee, that is still way too early to be putting a peg in the ground. It's dew all over the place. You're slipping. Air is cold. It's cool. I mean, temperatures are chilly today, to say the least. But the golfers are on the golf course at Augusta National. Really, the scores now don't really mean that much.
Don't mean a thing.
See how things kind of shake out a little bit. But here's a guy I know you've always mentioned before, Barry. What a name, Harris English. He tees off. Harris English teeing off in about an hour.
Guaranteed, and we can tie this together before we go to break. We can tie this together. Harris English is teeing off in just a little while at the Masters. Guaranteed. There's a guy named Harris English that's going to be at the Tide Pride breakfast tomorrow morning in Tuscaloosa.
He's from Mountain Brook,
Brook.
He's from Mountain Brook.
And he's probably not the first Harris English in his immediate family. He's like Harris English the third.
The fourth.
Yeah, and he's got a leather-bound checkbook that Greg Byrne is going to want to get into before he leaves.
You better believe. Yeah, all that. I think Byrne goes and sees the Mountain Brook people face-to-face, one-on-one. Those big money people, they ain't coming to something like that. He's getting them he's going to the office, to the house. He wants the big money.
But then again, the big money people aren't spending $500 so they can get a message on the video board up there either. They're not spending $100 so they can go run the football out before the game and hand it to the referees.
When they first got luxury boxes at Bryant Denny, and I weaseled my way into a few from time to time. I always noticed
it's such a harsh word. No,
I always noticed Mal Moore was going from box to box to shake hands and slap people on the shoulder and whatnot. Does Mal not need to be watching the game? And then it kind of hit me. No, Mal's up here sucking up to the big wigs.
That's exactly right.
He needs some money.
Saban's got it handled down there. He needs to handle stuff up there, if you know what we mean. So we are underway. It's our Thursday show, which habitually means even busier than otherwise. Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com will join us. Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com will join us. We'll put a big bow, a big wrapper, a big fini on the basketball season. From Hyche Hoops, it's Bart Hyche. That'll join us in about an hour and 15 minutes or so. So we've got a lot to do, a lot to get to on the program. John's in Studio B, just outside Network Control. I think Network Control is the kitchen. I am in, where am I? Blacksburg, Virginia, in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Spring into savings at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, America's best-selling truck, the F-150. You can get every new 2024 at 2.9% APR for 72 months. How about an F-150 Lightning up to $15,000 off plus 0% for 75 months? The ever-popular Ford Bronco Sport as low as $25,990. The Ford Explorer, it started the SUV craze. An all-wheel drive with leather as low as $33,990. That's up to $8,000 off. $15,000 off Ford Expeditions. And what about the Ford Mustang? Starting as low as $29,990. And the all-new Ford Mavericks starting as low as $23,990 and no payment for 90 days. And don't forget about Stivers Ford's mobile service. Get serviced at your home or work anywhere near the river region. It's all at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where price sells cars.
Introducing Budweiser Zero. 0% alcohol, 0 grams of sugar. Full Budweiser flavor. A refreshing alcohol-free brew that tastes like the real thing. Budweiser Zero. 0 alcohol, 0 compromise.
The Destin Connection Seafood Market offers the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf of Mexico with deliveries daily. Snapper, grouper, pompano, flounder, copia, along with medium, large, and jumbo shrimp, hand-picked crab meat, and chucked oysters. They can even cook your order for easy, quick pickup. The Destin Connection can make a po' boy with any of their seafood items that folks in New Orleans rave about. Go by and see them at 3750 Norman Bridge Road or call 288-4272 for pickup orders.
Okay, welcome back in, everybody. Glad you're with us here. About 18 minutes past the hour on this Thursday. As Barry mentioned, big lineup of guests today. Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover in about 12 minutes. Rodney Orr, the TiderInsider, brought to you exclusively by the Destin Connection Seafood Market at the top of the next hour. We'll check in with Will Fisher, the director of golf at Capitol Hill on the RTJ Trail, get his picks for the Masters, which has started there at Augusta National. Bart Hyche wrapping up the college basketball season also later in hour number 2. Phantom's Daily Dog, Gurn Jr.'s Victoryland topic, Will. So a lot going on today here on the program.
Yep.
Barry, let this sink in our viewing and listening audience. I saw this yesterday. Some great articles from Chris Lowe at ESPN.com. He's obviously making his rounds here in the SEC. Had an article about Kalen DeBoer in Alabama spring. He had one about Hugh Freeze and Auburn. And as I read it, both of them, this one paragraph kind of hit me because I saw it in, I saw it in black and white. And I went, whoa, man, now that I'm looking at it, I've heard it, but now I'm looking at it. And it kind of hits me here a little bit. In Chris Lowe's article, it's entitled Auburn shoe freeze eyes year 3 with no sense of panic. A little bit down in the article, it says, Freeze said the support and commitment from Auburn Chancellor Christopher Roberts and Athletic Director John Cohen couldn't be stronger. And in the world of name, image, and likeness, Auburn is going all in. I think I've heard that before somewhere.
All in. That's a Chiswick.
Yeah.
That's Chiswickese.
Chiswickese. Auburn is going all in on locking in key players financially. The payroll for the 2025 roster will exceed $20 million.
Yep.
Let that sink in a little bit.
$20 million.
I see it there in black and white, and I'm going, really? I mean, I've heard that, but it looks like they're really doing it. College football teams have payrolls over $20 million, and we're looking for $30 to stand on the sidelines and $500 to be in the locker room. Hey, Greg, you better get a corporate logo on that stadium as quick as you can.
There's gonna be some blowback, though, right? You know the people. I mean, the people, you know, Bobby Flay and Simpson Pepper and Bama Angler and SM4 Bammer and Tider Weiser. And you know,
I
those
like that
guys.
one. Tider Weiser.
Tider Weiser, yeah. Tomfoolery, Coop for Bammer. They're in there. Space Coast Tider. Man, they're going to act as though the end is coming. They're going to be those people who John and I have dealt with for years. I can't believe you guys are doing that. I'm never watching again. I can't believe you guys said that. You've lost a viewer, lost a listener, and blah, blah, blah. So they're going to be, I'm out. I'm done. It's ruined the college football experience for me. Come on. We know better than that. It's going to ruin the winning experience for you if you don't do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, is it kind of a, you know, is it almost, Bear, I'm sensing it's almost like a fear factor. You know, if you don't do it, we're going to fall behind and we're not going to be able to compete. So are they scaring the fan base? Is that what's going on? Because, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that support college athletics, support Alabama, and we're not just picking on Alabama, but they're excuse me. Wow. Their athletic director has been vocal about the importance of contributing to the NIL.
I wonder how much the Auburn, physical sciences department is spending this year. I wonder what the budget is for the Auburn Department of Chemistry. You know, I was reading the other day that the president at some school was getting paid. The chancellor at some school had just re-upped a deal where he is going to be making $850,000 a year for 3 years. You got defensive coordinators who are making twice that right now, and they're not even in charge of the program. Is it skewed? Absolutely it is. But again, you got to give the people what they want. $20 million, again, when the House settlement comes, $20 million will be spread out and there'll be a cap, and that'll be for everybody. Right now it's $20 million just for football. And within the next week or so, when that House settlement either comes through or it doesn't, I think it'll come through, then you'll start to have not scholarship limits. I mean, you'll have scholarship limits, but you'll have roster limits. Already West Virginia, they have cut 22 players from their football team, including 5 incoming freshmen.
Wow.
Yeah, and they are the first, but they're not going to be the last. Auburn is going to spend $20 million on their football team. And guess what? They're going to cut roster spots. So the $20 million, which is a lot, it's not the most, but it's a lot, is going to be spread around to fewer people. Jackson Arnold is a millionaire. There's a kid, really good kid named Toppin, who's on the Texas Tech basketball team. He announces he's coming back for another year. I think he led the Big 12 in scoring. And they're thinking that their NIL deal, and Texas Tech is all in on basketball, for him, $4 million. They got an incoming freshman, the number one recruit in the country in basketball. He's going to BYU. $7 million. $7 million. And you expect him to make his 8 o'clock humanities class?
Yeah. Come on.
In January? Come on. It's a crazy world out there. And we have moved beyond the path. And John has already brought this up. We've moved beyond the path of sanity. Is it crazy? Yeah, it's crazy. Is it anything like what John and I have been commenting on 10, 20, 50, 25 years ago? Yeah, it's a ton different than even 5 years ago. Is it healthy for the colleges? No. No. I mean, you're paying defensive coordinators twice as much as you're paying the college president. But, John, that's the way it is. And if you want to be on that train and you are one of those people who are invested in watching your team in the national championship game hoist that trophy, then that's what you got to do. And you better be on board because the train is leaving with or without you on all of that.
It is. It certainly is.
It's crazy.
Leaving. It's moving.
Yeah.
Also, Bear, I thought this was interesting. Chris Lowe, when he visited Tuscaloosa, talking about the Kalen DeBoer era in year number 2 with his stamp on it.
Yep.
The quarterback position, thought it was interesting. The unique way that he writes and put things, kind of reading between the lines. Basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, that Ty Simpson seems to have put himself in a position to be the starter, but he needs to win it, needs to own it. That Austin Mack is a favorite of his teammates. And the phenom from Texas, the true freshman, is a athlete, a specimen. Certainly can tell the raw quarterback talent that is there.
Yeah.
So without saying who's going to be the starter, it kind of led me to believe, well, okay, this is what we're going to be hearing about all spring and summer. If you're asking me, I think Ty Simpson takes the first snap of the year. I think that would be where the betting money would be today. Could I see a situation where he doesn't start? Well, yeah, that certainly could happen. But how they juggle these 3 quarterbacks, Barry, in the era of NIL and teams scratching and clawing and trying to be, to get their top flight quarterback, how are they going to keep all these people happy? And that's not just in Alabama.
Yeah, that's happening everywhere. Yeah,
but if you guys
bear in mind this, it ain't as though Ty Simpson and Bill Connolly on ESPN was talking about Alabama being one of the most interesting teams in the country because he says they are ridiculously talented.
Yep,
but they need a quarterback. It ain't. He has thrown for 381 yards in his career. Ty Simpson has 3 seasons. No touchdowns, no interceptions. He's just kind of been a placeholder so far. But bear in mind, he ain't going to be able to ease into it. Florida State on the road, after ULM, then Wisconsin, then Georgia.
I mean,
after
Keelan
the off
Russell,
week, I mean, it ain't like he's going to be able to just, get the kinks out, figure out the lay of the land, and then, evolve. He better be ready immediately.
And I find it hard to believe that a true freshman is going to start. It's happened, but I find it interesting. But the highest rated player Alabama's ever signed, I mean, they better do something to keep this kid happy if that's the case. Austin Mack is a teammate favorite. We always know, we've heard stories about that before. Why aren't you playing that guy? So this is going to be an interesting spring and summer with all the talk and all the observations and opinions about the quarterback race. But I thought that was interesting how he described those 3 players that seem to be vying for that starting position.
And those same parameters are being dealt with at every other school in the country, including Auburn, where we'll talk with Jason Caldwell when we come back. AuburnUndercover.com. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
All guests of Longshore McKnight appear on the City of Montgomery guest hotline. Check out the most interesting and informed personalities in sports covering Auburn, Alabama, Troy, ASU, and all the major teams from across the country. John and Barry have the best guests brought to you by the City of Montgomery. To find out everything you need to know that is going on in the capital city, check out montgomeryal.gov. That's montgomeryal.gov, the capital of dreams.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. About 29 minutes to the top of the hour on this Thursday. A lot going on, and as always, our friend Jason Caldwell of Auburn Undercover joins us here to talk about the Tigers. But before we get to Auburn, they're just teeing off at Augusta, Jason. I got to know who you like this week to put on the green jacket on Sunday.
Yeah, we had a little draft, a few guys, and I got the first pick. And with the first pick, you have to pick Scotty Scheffler. So, I mean, he hadn't been playing up to his standards. He's still been pretty good. So he'd have to be the favorite for me. I would be shocked if Rory doesn't win a Masters in his career. His game looks like it's perfectly suited for Augusta. And so, you start to get, not I want to say towards the end, but man, you feel like you need to start making one of those happen now. Mm-hmm. And then, a couple of guys, Minwoo Lee, Ludwig Oberg. I mean, some of those guys, I think those younger guys are guys that could contend as well.
Ludwig Oberg. John, you've mentioned him before as well. A lot of people kind of like that guy. Okay, already one question. Somebody wants to know if they get a subscription to Auburn Undercover, can they get a hat, Jason? Because that's a sweet hat. That's a nice thing.
We have some gear available at different times, I think, and so I don't know. I need to figure out a way, because we have some pretty good looking gear, and so
no doubt
to find out that I'm not normally a trucker hat guy, and I guess that's what this is. But this one, it takes a special hat to fit my head right, and so this one does it as well as any.
Well, there's two other guys on the screen with you that have the same problem.
Yeah. Hat, glasses, like sunglasses for me. I don't care what they do; they just have to fit, not crooked on my head. Is pretty much that's the only goal for me. So.
We talked to you last Thursday, right before, the national semifinals on Saturday. Auburn falls in the semis to the eventual national champion. Put a capper on this year for Auburn men's basketball. They go 32-6, win the SEC regular season. How should this season be regarded?
Yeah, as incredible. I mean, I think you get to a Final Four. No matter where you are, maybe Duke, Carolina, Kansas, maybe there's a handful of schools where you go, man, that was disappointing. You make to a Final Four at Auburn, it is not disappointing. Now you're sad that you didn't win a national championship and do those things, but to do what they were able to accomplish this year and win 32 games, be number one for a long stretch of the season, the number one overall seed, and back it up by making the Final Four, that's an incredible season. So I think it's celebrated, everything they accomplished. And we talked about it, I think the first time they played, and then last week again. I think that was, to me, I think if Auburn plays any of the other teams, I think they win a national championship. And I said it earlier this week, I thought that Texas Tech falling after having a lead against Florida was probably the thing that kept Auburn from maybe winning a national championship. I thought the matchup for Florida was just a very difficult one for this team, and that's basketball. Basketball is all about matchups, and I thought Florida was the worst matchup of maybe anybody in the country for Auburn, and they had to see that team again in a Final Four.
How do you think this team will look next year?
Yeah,
I have no idea. I was laughing because I guess the day of the national championship game, people are putting out top 25, and I'm like, y'all have no idea. I mean, I know it's just all done to get people to click on it. You have no clue. There's no way you can know anything about any team enough to make even an uneducated guess about a top 25 next season. Now you go, hey, they're probably pretty good, but you don't know what the roster is going to look like right now. You got a few pieces in place, but for Auburn, what does Tahad Pettiford do? What does Chad Baker-Mazar do? Can you go find an elite, legit shooting guard, and then at least two bigs, probably three? It's going to look quite different than it does today, and you just don't know what the pieces are now because that's the world we live in.
Charles Barkley said earlier this week, it may have been yesterday, maybe Tuesday, blatantly that Johni Broome's the best player in Auburn basketball history.
I think he's the most decorated and most accomplished player in Auburn basketball history. He's not the greatest player to ever play at Auburn. Those are two different arguments. Charles Barkley, top 50, top 25 player of all time, period, in basketball. He's the best player to ever play at Auburn. Johni Broome is the best Auburn player. I guess that's the way I would say it.
Yeah.
During his career, I don't think there's anybody else that accomplished what he did in 3 seasons to do the things they did. And so, I agree. I think there's two different arguments. It's like saying the most outstanding player versus the most valuable player. I think those are two different arguments.
Right.
I wrote earlier, I think last week, I said, look, I think Broome is the best player in Auburn basketball history because of what he did and because of what the team was able to do. Yeah, I agree.
Jason, Barry and I were talking about this earlier this morning. We've heard numbers. We've heard people talking about it. And I guess it just hit me when I saw it in black and white. Chris Lowe at ESPN making a kind of a tour around the SEC, talking to coaches and teams. And he had an article about Auburn yesterday. And there again, we've heard this type of stuff, but when you read it and you see it, it does kind of hit you. And in his article, there's a section of it about, he says, Auburn is going all in on locking in key players financially. The payroll for the 2025 roster will exceed $20 million. There again, heard it, but when you see it and you go, wow, really $20 million for a college football roster? Didn't think we'd ever see that day. It is here. How do you keep doing that year after year?
Yeah, I would guess that most every team in this league is probably somewhere similar to that. When you think about 85 players and you think about having to pay, I mean, that's the thing. You think about having to pay a handful of guys upwards of $1 million, and you start looking at it and going, oh, that's already a chunk of that already. And that is, again, that's the world we live in. I don't think it's sustainable. I think this revenue sharing part of this will come into play. And then the question is going to be, will the valuation part of it ever truly happen? Because I think it needs to, because again, just people giving somebody $1.5 million that is not NIL. We know that. We said it when this thing started. What we're witnessing now is not NIL. It's pay for play. That there's 100%. There's no NIL. Name, image, and likeness. Okay, that's great. Well, your name, image, and likeness is not worth $2 million if you've never played a snap. I don't care. I don't care how many Instagram followers you have, whatever it is.
Right.
If we'll get to that, and then you go, okay, if you've earned that much, then that's what you're worth. Right now, it is, hey, we want you to come play for our school. Here's what we're going to pay you. This is SMU for everybody in the country right now. That's what we are. We have to get to a point where it's okay. If you've done this much, and this is what, okay, now you're worth this much for a program when we put you on the side of the stadium or whatever it is. But that's not what it's been for the past couple of years, and that's not what we're seeing now in basketball and other sports where schools are going, look, we're going to try to make sure we get this thing taken care of before this change happens.
Well, we know history and tradition are a big part of football in the SEC, particularly here in the state of Alabama. Do you see a day in the near future, Jason, where Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee have sponsor logos on their jerseys and their stadiums have some big corporate name attached to them?
Well, I think Tennessee's already done it, haven't they? Haven't they done something with their stadium to do some money? I think somebody, I know
Kentucky is like Kroger Supermarket.
Kentucky is Kroger Field or whatever.
Tennessee slapped a surcharge on their season tickets, and they say straight to NIL.
So, I think it's inevitable, and I hate it. I don't want to see a soccer jersey where there's 17 logos of folks on top of there. But if you have to continue down this road, if you're an athletic department, then you go, look, if we have to do this and we don't want to keep asking people for money, then you go, it's going to be sponsorship driven. I mean, we see it in the NFL and you see it in other sports. And so I think it's an inevitable part of what you're dealing with. And people say, look, hey, I'm all for people. And like I said, if somebody had said when I was a freshman in college, they said, hey, we're going to pay you $1.5 million to go somewhere else, I'd have done it. I mean, you have to.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the right thing to do right now. Got to figure out a way.
Well, Jason Caldwell has been, burning the midnight oil at auburnundercover.com. Just look on the website. Jason has a piece about Deuce Knight, a piece about Perry Thompson, a piece about Alex McPherson heading into the A-Day. They call it the A-Day weekend now at Auburn. So there've been some availabilities with some of the players. Tell us a little bit about Deuce Knight. Is he going to factor into the quarterback race, Jason?
Oh, I think so. I don't know that he'll start. But I mean, when there's only 2 scholarship quarterbacks on campus, when you come in that he was going to get a ton of reps. And so that's been the first part of this. Would he be able to handle those and do the things mentally that you need to do to put himself in a race? And I think he's done that. I think that's been the key. You need the physical tools were going to be there. He could throw it, he can run, he can do all those things. But the way he's processed things has been, I think that's probably been, I won't say a surprise because he's a bright kid, but you just don't know that it's going to happen that quickly for a true freshman. And I think that's happened. And so, yeah, I would guess, and Jackson Arnold's been really good. And I still think he's probably going to be your starter. But I think this is a competition that goes into the first couple of weeks of August because you're going to add Ashton Daniels in there as well, the Stanford transfer. And so the thing we haven't seen, I asked Deuce about yesterday, is that how much it changes when you get into a game and all of a sudden now the quarterback's live and running and you have to tackle that guy. That was the separator for Cam Newton and Nick Marshall that, hey, well, they've done all these things well. And then you put them in the game and you go, uh-oh, that's different. That's another. That's the Jackson Arnold too, and Ashton Daniels can run. That's the added piece of this thing that coaches don't get to see until you get into a game because you're not going to go tackle guys when you only have 2 of them.
Can Jackson Arnold be a star?
I think he has the ability to be one. I do, and the tools are around him now. And somebody asked me a roster bill, and I said, I think it's probably the best roster since 2017 at Auburn. That was a team that ended up being pretty good and made a run at the end of the season. I think wide receiver talent, offensive line's better. I think you've got the pieces to be that type of guy. And so, yeah, I think it's a possibility that he could be one of those guys that has a big breakout season, with a move. And we've seen that happen before.
Things going well for baseball. A series win over Alabama last week. I believe LSU coming to town this weekend.
Yeah. Life in the Southeastern Conference. They've already played at Georgia on the road. You get top 5 LSU this weekend, go to top 5 Texas next weekend, and you still have trips to top 5 Tennessee and top 7 Ole Miss. So Auburn's going to have 4 road trips this season, 12 games against top 7 teams in the country. You've already played Vandy. You got Mississippi State, South Carolina, who are struggling, but it's still Mississippi State, South Carolina. Yeah, there's no break, there's no rest. Just hop back on this weekend and take on what's a really good LSU team at home, and should have some huge crowds. Should be a big weekend.
Yeah, and it is part of, again, the A-Day weekend along with softball at Georgia. What will A-Day? What will inside the stadium on Saturday? What will that look like?
Yeah, I think it's going to be short. That's the first thing. I think it starts at 12. My guess is it'll be done by 1 at the latest. I think it's going to be an hour, because they've kind of incorporated what used to be an August tradition of Fan Day is now incorporated into Saturday. So it's going to turn into Fan Day. Saturday at 1:30, they'll have autographs, all those things on the field. In between that, we'll have some interviews with Freeze and some players and so I think it'll be done by 1 o'clock or later to give time to do some interviews, for them to set up things on the field, tables, all the things that are needed to then do an autograph session at 1:30. So it's going to be short. It'll be a practice. My guess is they'll get there a little early and probably show some 7-on-7 and things like that. Run a few plays, and that'll be pretty much it.
Yeah, it's a different day when it comes to spring games. It's all over the country. Just going to give you a little taste, but we're not going to let you see too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't again in this transfer portal world, which opens next week, showcasing young talent and guys who are maybe not on the first line of a potential depth chart. Not something that most coaches are going to be interested in nowadays.
How is Alex McPherson?
Doing well.
It got down to 110.
Got down to twice in 2 separate occasions. Got down to 110 pounds. Ulcerative colitis, wound up what they found it out. They thought maybe Crohn's disease to begin with. And he was on the road back, had some medication he thought was working. In Kentucky last year, he's slated to kick, and he did kick in the game. But I talked to the kicking coach that day and mentioned it a little bit. But kind of I want to be sensitive because this is a health issue. It's not an injury. And so Alex, told me yesterday. Said, "Yeah, look, he had to go back to the locker room 3 or 4 times in pregame because he just couldn't keep anything down on his stomach." And so, but they figured something out. He had the entire large intestine removed in the surgery right before Christmas. And has an ostomy bag. And for the old school folks, I asked him yesterday if he'd ever heard of the name Rolf Benerschka. And he said, yep, somebody. And Jackson Arnold actually gave him a book that his mom had on Rolf Benerschka and his story. And I remembered him kicking and having an ostomy bag, all those things back in the late 70s, early 80s, and kicked really well. And so
for the Chargers.
Yep. And so I think, he's got I think a plan. I think after this season, the plan is to have surgery again to be able to maybe remove that bag and start to do some things moving forward. But he said he feels great. He's up to 155 pounds or something like that. The goal is to get to 165, 170. And so pretty strong comeback. He's kicking well.
How about that?
That's great to hear.
Goodness.
Great to hear.
It is good. Well, so many things. Like I said, if you just scroll down, I defy you to not land on something and dive into it. Jason's been busy. So's Nathan King. So's Philip Marshall, Christian Clemente, and all those guys at auburnundercover.com. How do you get involved? How do you subscribe, Jason?
You're right. There's a ton going on. I went back and looked, and I think we did, 8 or 10 things yesterday. We'll have a bunch more today. Yeah. I'll be heading out the door here in a minute. We got practice viewing window this morning. Hugh Freeze today as well. So we'll have some things there. You mentioned Christian Thompson has a bunch of guys coming in, a bunch of those kids, Trent Seaborn and some others that'll be visiting today. So we'll have some recruiting updates, recruiting this weekend as well. So Whole lot going on. Check us out, auburnundercover.com, 24/7 network there. You can see on my hat. Yep. All the social medias, YouTube, Instagram, all those things. You can find us out there as well.
Awesome. Great stuff as always. Our man Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, joining us on Thursdays. We greatly appreciate it. Great insight and analysis. Thank you so much, Jason.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Good to hear from him as always.
Man, you better believe it. One quick note, Bear. I wanted to just touch on this. Jason mentioned Coach Hugh Freeze, and in Chris Lowe's article, he talked about Coach Freeze and his prostate issue. Of course, that was announced weeks ago.
Right.
Coach Freeze has prostate cancer. And I thought it was interesting when I read this, and we've talked a lot about it here on this program, and certainly want all of our viewers and listeners, the males out there, you got to go get checked. You got to do it. Don't put it off. You've got to get it done. Your next annual physical, whatever it may be, you've got to get your prostate checked. It's extremely important. As you know, I had a prostatectomy in my early 50s, had the surgery, and it went great. And it's just, I can't tell you how happy I am that I went down that path. But it was similar to Coach Freeze. What they called is actively monitoring it. And that's what Coach Freeze is going to do throughout the fall. And then next January, they're going to reevaluate it. The same thing happened with me. We actively monitored it. It was not, it's in an area where they felt like, it's not going to spread. It's going to be controlled. We're going to actively monitor it to make sure, there's no spreading, and we'll come back and reevaluate. We did. We noticed a little bit more. That's all I needed to hear. Bam, we set it up, had the surgery, and, it's over and done with almost 7 or 8 years ago. And that's what I believe Coach Freeze is going to be doing as well. They don't feel like right now they've got to make an urgent decision, an urgent move on it. It's in an area or it's not a large amount that they feel like he is in serious danger at this point. And in January, they'll go back and probably do another biopsy and see where they are and then make a decision. So when I read that and heard that yesterday, I said, hey, been down that road. I know what it's like. It's all good. And I'm glad to hear that because there again, these doctors certainly know what they know what they're doing. I know where he is. He's got a great team that's caring for him. And hey, it'll be good.
Hey, the one thing you don't need to do is deny.
No.
Hey, it ain't me. I feel great. No, it's not me. I'm too young for that. No, I don't have time for that. No, what you can't do is put it off. They are actively monitoring it. Mm-hmm. If they didn't know, in your case, in my case, in anybody's case, if you didn't know, then you're doing the absolute worst thing you can possibly do. Knowledge is power in this. Go get checked. There's no reason not to. So, good stuff from Jason Caldwell, auburnundercover.com. In a little bit, Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com. Bart Hyche later on as well.
And I guess when we come back, Barry, I guess we have to see what the Phantom's Daily Dog did yesterday. I guess.
Will we have another one? Will he serve up another one here? Yeah, okay.
I think I'm contractually obligated to provide a dog every day.
Well, coming up, that's in just a moment, in association with Yellowhammer News, Longshore McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Here we are at Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry. Our friend, everybody's friend, Mary Ann is with us. Mary Ann, April is a special month, even more special at Marguerite's.
Definitely. Okay, so it's the first of the month, Barry. What's that birthstone?
It's a diamond, right?
Yes. Winner. It's easy to remember because with April comes baseball season, baseball diamond. We've got diamond month here at Marguerite's, and it is a great time. We are having diamond month to really emphasize all the great diamonds we have in stock. We're doing crazy specials on natural as well as lab created diamonds with solitaire specials starting out at, this is crazy to believe, $500 for a lab created diamond solitaire. That's insane. Like a 1 carat inner ring. We have diamond studs, diamond tennis necklaces, tennis bracelets. Everything with our diamonds are going to be unmatched, unparalleled prices. And loose stones, again, maybe because it is baseball season and you're watching all of those games that you need to give a little extra something, or that girlfriend that you've been dating for a while needs to get an engagement ring. Well, now is definitely the time to do it because our loose diamonds are on special.
Yeah, if you are thinking about an engagement, here's a pro tip. That may be Marianne's favorite thing to do at Marguerite's, is to help the guys make sure their odds are good with a beautiful diamond for that loved one that they're going to pop the question to, right?
Most definitely. It's great to help. We love helping you. The hardest thing you have to do is walk through the door. Next thing, I mean, honestly, you just say, I need to get engaged. Or between the two of us or the rest of these listeners, I can tell when a guy walks through. They kind of just have that look and they're just walking slow and looking around. And I'm like, need an engagement ring? And they just shake their head. I take it from there. Just get some ideas. White gold, yellow gold, diamonds. We have them. Guys, it's not hard. Honestly, just walk through the door. We can help you.
Yeah, it's not intimidating at all. They have people who would love to help, especially in Diamond Month in April in Marguerite. Yes. Marianne, as always, it's so great to talk with you. What are the hours of operation?
Sure. We're open 7 days a week in the Pepper Tree Shopping Center, 10 to 5:30 Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 on Saturday, and noon to 5 on Sunday.
Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry, Pepper Tree Center, next to Chappie's Deli, 8163 Vaughn Road in Montgomery. Thanks very much, Marianne. Great to see you.
Great to see you, too.
Okay, here we are back at it, getting close to the top of the hour. Rodney Orr, the TiderInsider, scheduled to join us, sponsored by our good friends at the Destin Connection Seafood Market, bringing you Rodney Orr exclusively each and every Thursday. And I know, here they come. Here they are, Chris the Bammer, Phantom and the Braves, two peas in a pod. Look, the Braves are in a lot worse shape than the Phantom. Just tell you that right now.
The Phantom ain't 2-8. I can tell you that much. No.
Got that right. So, okay, last night, I'm not going to sit here and give you a bunch of excuses. I'm just going to go ahead and, well, maybe I will.
Yeah. Believe me, if you could have thought of one, you would have heard it. If there was one that was plausible. Yeah.
We're winding down the regular season of the NBA. Some teams maybe kind of half-assing it a little bit. There was a great scene in the original Airplane movie where Joey went up to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, talked about
Roger Murdoch.
Yeah. My dad says you guys don't really hustle till the playoffs. I agree. I've always thought that.
Yeah. And it's funny because Roger Murdoch says, you tell your dad to try pulling, who's he said, Lanier and Walton down the field. I loved it because he said, I bust my buns every night. And I'm thinking, I've been around basketball players my whole life, on buses, at courtside, at practice, in the locker room. Ain't nobody says buns.
No.
They don't say buns. It says, man, you guys, you need to start busting your buns, fellas. Come on. I always thought that was funny. Kareem saying buns. Anyway.
Kind of an 80s term, I believe. Yeah. So you just wait.
Steel.
I'm I'm not saying wait till the playoffs and the Phantom can see these games a little clearer, but it has been a little foggy. It's kind of tough.
Okay. All right.
When some of these teams are just, kind of going through the motions, if you will. And that certainly was what happened last night. I did check the score, Barry. The Wizards were only down 2 after the first quarter, but that's about as close as they got.
Well, they end up losing by 19.
Yeah. Yeah, only down by 2 at the end of the first quarter, but they did lose big. We were catching 1.5. We were way off on that one. So tonight, we're moving to Memphis, right up the road. You could probably catch the game tonight if you want to, but it is on TNT at 8:30. The Memphis Grizzlies hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves. We got Wolves and Grizzlies going at it tonight.
Two pretty good teams, both having good years. It's in Memphis, like John said.
Correct.
But the Timberwolves are favored in this one?
No, they're catching 1.5.
Yeah.
Timberwolves are catching 1.5 here. They're a dog, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. There you go.
It's on TNT, True TV,
TNT
and
tonight.
Max. I'm not sure what Max is. Timberwolves coming at 46. Yeah, is that still a thing? Timberwolves are 46-33.
Yeah.
23-17 away from home. Hey, they got that working for them. The Grizzlies, one game better at 47-32. Look to be two closely matched teams here, Barry. We're taking the points in the T-Wolves in their game tonight at Memphis. And these teams, Barry, looking at the rankings in the Western Conference, they're not too far apart. Golden State sandwiched in between Memphis and Minnesota.
Yeah,
Memphis is in the 6th spot, Minnesota in the 8th spot in the Western Conference. So these teams are close. We're taking the 1.5 and the T-Wolves tonight in Memphis. Games on TNT if you want to check it out. I'll probably take a peek, see how things are going there when Hannity goes to a commercial.
So there we go. Yeah. He could give you he can give you a couple of prop bets on Hannity. I know that's for sure. Yeah.
Hey, is the stock market open yet? I mean, woo, what about yesterday?
Yeah.
Gee,
yeah. Big bounce back.
Oh,
yep.
Yeah.
Alabama finished up their second spring scrimmage last Friday.
Yeah.
I guess Saturday technically counts as a scrimmage for Alabama. It is the A-Day game presented by Golden Flake. And with all of the other stuff going on around it, Milroe will be there along with is it Malachi Moore and a couple of other guys, Tyler Booker, Deontay Lawson at the Walk of Fame on Saturday, Walk of Champions afterwards. And then they
put their hands in cement, the captains.
Yeah.
Before the game, yeah.
That's the deal. That's the 10 a.m. thing at Denny Chimes, the annual Walk of Fame ceremony. Malachi Moore, Jalen Milroe, Deontay Lawson, Tyler Booker. And then what to expect the rest of the day, I'm not sure. John, what do you say we ask Rodney Orr, the TiderInsider?
You better believe it. The TiderInsider, Rodney Orr, joining us here today exclusively. Brought to you by our friends at the Destin Connection Seafood Market, 3750 Norman Bridge Road. The freshest seafood arriving daily to the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Shrimp, oysters, their crawfish, of course, their complete display case full of the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf. It is at Destin Connection Seafood Market. Call ahead. Your order will be ready for pickup. 288-4272. That's 288-4272. The Destin Connection Seafood Market.
Good morning, Rodney. How are you?
Hey, Rodney. Rodney there in the green room?
I see him down there. Let's see.
Yeah.
He'll
join us here.
I can bring him up. Hey, you got us, Rodney?
Hey, Rodney, how you doing?
I'm here, guys. How are y'all doing today?
Good, buddy. How are
really
you?
Well, doing well.
I'm hanging in there.
What are you expecting? What will A-Day look like when they actually get to football inside Bryant-Denny Stadium? Do you know what the structure is going to be?
All I really know, Barry, is that it sounds like it's going to be a practice. It's not going to be a scrimmage of any sort. That's my understanding. Again, who knows? I don't think there's been a real definition put on it right now, at least not publicly. Obviously, they know what they're going to do. But it sounds like, from what I've picked up, anyway, that it's just going to be your typical practice. So you'll watch them stretch. You'll watch them go through position drills. They may do some 7-on-7 stuff. Who knows? I don't know if they'll do any kind of scrimmaging per se, because I do think, John and Barry, there's a scrimmage of some sort today.
Oh,
So
okay.
You get 3 scrimmages. Now, I'll be clear. I'm not 100% sure exactly what the schedule is for today, or then they practice tomorrow. It's kind of different. They had 11 practices scattered over about 4 or 5 weeks, and now they got 4 in 1 week. So,
wow.
Anyway, it's not real clear, but my understanding was that they're expected to do some sort of scrimmaging today.
Rodney, what'd you hear about the scrimmage last Friday?
Well, I mean, it sounds like it was once again, a pretty good scrimmage. I know that people want to first talk about the quarterbacks. I think, Ty Simpson obviously had a big day in the very first scrimmage. He had 3 touchdown passes, had another one drop, no turnovers. Maybe not as big a day statistically in this second scrimmage for Ty, I think he still had a, pretty good day. My understanding, he was around 13 of 20 for just under 200 yards, had a touchdown pass. I think he had an interception as well, maybe two. Again, the statistics kind of vary. So, depending on who you talk to, but, I think, Austin Mack, obviously he had some flashes too. He had a touchdown throw to Jeremy Bernard, but a lot of buzz in this scrimmage about just the potential of Keelan Russell. And I'll say this, I'll go ahead and say this up front. I do think that still it's pretty much the way it's been. I think most people think Ty is ahead of everyone else. But he's going to have to hold on to it. He doesn't have a lot of experience either. So he's going to have to continue to work and kind of prove himself a little bit and, hold on to maybe where he is in the pecking order right now. But I'll say this, based on everything I heard, John and Barry, it sounds like most people believe that Keelan Russell is everything he was touted to be.
Yeah, and I note on TiderInsider, they report, and of course a lot of people did, but I read it on TiderInsider, that Kalen DeMoore has not been shy in really praising Keelan Russell. He said that he's killing it so far in the spring. He's not bringing the kid along slowly. He is telling everybody, look, this kid's a player, and he's doing things. Yeah. He's doing some impressive things.
Yeah, he did use that phrase. You know what Alabama people would do with that? They'll run with it.
Rodney, we were talking earlier, Chris Lowe at ESPN making the tours around the SEC schools. He had an article about Alabama and made the comment that, looks like Ty certainly put himself in a position, but he's got to win it, got to own it. Talked about Keelan Russell just being a phenom, just his athletic ability and his presence is just so impressive. And then Austin Mack seems to be a team favorite. His teammates love him. To me, that's you're kind of going, well, whoa, which one you going to pick?
Yeah. Well, again, it's kind of like, and I think that's pretty much the way it's been from, the start of practice, and it's kind of continued in that direction, continued to trend in those directions there that you're talking about. I think it's Ty continuing to mature, continuing to develop, continuing to kind of take leadership of this team. And I think there's a lot of support for him. Honestly, I think when you look at the team, I get the sense that there is it's pretty unified in terms of they support all those guys. I mean, I don't think there's one guy trying to stand out individually in terms of, being the face of everything. Kind of trying to dominate everything. I think they're all doing their own thing, if that makes sense. Sometimes you have a guy that tries to, position himself in a lot of different ways. I don't think you're seeing that with any of these three guys. So I think they all have some really good support on the team.
What do you, and I'm getting a little localized here, a little centralized here, kid from Troy, kid from Montgomery. What do you figure is the next step in development for Quay Russaw?
Well, that's a great question. Quay's obviously a really talented guy. I mean, he's big, he's physical. I think he might have actually dropped some weight, if I'm not mistaken, to kind of, for his speed, his quickness, his ability to come off the edge. Quay created a lot of plays last year. I mean, he created some plays. Well, you remember the Georgia game when he had the strip sack, caused a fumble. He creates a lot of plays, and I think he's got that in him. There's a lot of people who thought when Quay came out, he was the best player in the state of Alabama, coming out of high school. And of course, his teammate was James Smith, who's a great player.
Yeah.
But no, I think Quay is what you really want to see. I think if you're Alabama, one of those guys out there, including Quay, somebody's got to emerge as a pass rusher. Somebody's got to emerge as a guy that offenses have to account for and say, hey, look, we can't turn this guy loose. And I think that's the big thing right now. Talking to people who observed scrimmage the other day on last Friday, they said, look, one of the things stand out. I don't really see a guy kind of stepping up as that pass rusher yet, the guy. So we'll see. I mean, again, I think Quay certainly has that potential.
Rodney, money seems to be a hot topic these days. The House versus the NCAA settlement that's fast approaching. We're still hearing a lot about NIL. Greg Byrne has publicly said that there's this misconception that Alabama's flush with cash and whatnot. We touched on a piece that Auburn's roster this year will exceed $20 million. And when I saw that in print, I kind of went, whoa. I mean, I've heard these things, but you see it in print, and you're thinking $20 million. I just don't see how schools can maintain that, particularly the Auburns and Alabamas of the world from states that aren't that big, don't have a lot of huge donors out there with deep pockets. There's some, but not as many as other states have. I just don't see how they sustain this, Rodney, in looking for ways to generate revenue. Do you ever see a day where Bryant-Denny Stadium's got a corporate logo on it, on the field, patches on the jerseys with some advertisement on it to generate revenue to help NIL?
Well, I mean, I guess it's certainly possible. I think there would be a meltdown among the fan base.
Yeah.
You know how they are. They don't want anything on that jersey, number one. Nothing is expected to change. And, I'm sure they would not really like the, logo on the field either. But at the same time, I think, some of these decision makers, Greg Byrne, wherever it is, whatever school, they're right now in a situation, they're between a rock and a hard place. They've got to make decisions that produce, and it may not be something that everyone agrees with. But sometimes, when you're in those positions, John and Barry, and you guys know this, you have to make decisions that aren't popular for the betterment of the program or whatever. And so I'm not saying that's for the better of the program. I'm just saying if it gets to that, Greg Byrne would probably, if he had to make that decision, he would do it because he felt like, look, this is something that we have to do. So, you kind of just have to come to accept that. That's just my opinion of it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, John. I don't know if it's going to get to that spot where they have to do that. But again, the way it's going now, there's a lot of things going on now that I didn't think we were going to get to either. Okay?
And we got to them quick, didn't we?
Sure did.
My God. A couple of other things in lieu of the question about Quay Russo. I've been talking with people over the last couple of days about spring. And they were asking me about this guy, and I remember a couple of weeks you said something about him as well. There's a freshman cornerback named Dijon Lee. I think you said you really thought he had a high upside and is kind of proven that in spring this year. Am I right?
He's had a great spring. Dijon Lee out of California, 5-star corner, 6'4". You don't find many 6'4", 200-pound corners. He's been kind of I would say on the defensive side among the freshmen. And there's been some guys that have stood out, some of the inside linebackers, Dijon Lee, certainly, Ivan Taylor as a safety. But I think Dijon Lee is a guy that he may be, right there with Keelan Russell as a guy that you look at and you say potentially superstar. I'd go ahead and throw in another couple of guys. Obviously, Lotzier Brooks, the receiver. He wears number 17, and he looks a lot like Waddle. I mean, we've talked about him on the show from Millville, New Jersey. This guy's really explosive, dynamic. He's a guy that I think has an opportunity to break into this receiver rotation, which I think is much better this year than last year. Or it certainly that's the indication we have this spring. Derek Meadows is a guy that at 6'6", a receiver. He's 200 pounds. He ran a 36.7 300 meters. I'm talking about hurdles. Last year in Las Vegas. So he's very fluid. I think he's more polished, maybe as a receiver than what people thought coming in. So that kind of helps him. I think he could perhaps contribute, maybe break into that rotation some, maybe the top 6 or so. But again, I when I say these things too, have to remember that receiver group it's better this year. It's going to be real competitive in that round.
One more guy that I was asked about, and then these are all the ones that people I've just notated it down there. You talk about the need to find somebody who can really be disruptive along the defensive front. What about Keon Keeley?
Keon Keeley. Yeah. Keon's come a long way. I remember talking to an NFL defensive lineman, I think it was last year. And I was like, what do you see in practice? I mean, is there someone that jumps out to you? And he said, well, I tell you, they've moved Keon Keeley from a 5-star recruited linebacker to defensive end. And, he's 6'5" plus, he's gaining weight, he's getting bigger. And as soon as he figures it out, he's going to be a terror. So we'll see. But it sounds like this spring he's becoming more and more disruptive. He's kind of starting to figure out defensive end. He's gained 35, 40 pounds. And John and Barry, when you looked at him the other day, we had a media viewing period earlier this week, and you see him in that uniform, he's looking pretty good at 6'5", 280. Now he's a guy that you can also see with his body, he can get bigger. So, hopefully he kind of takes a step up and becomes a pass rusher that they could use.
Rodney, of course, so with A-Day on Saturday, some recruits will be on campus, I imagine. I know there were some last week as well. Talk about the recruits and who this staff's focusing in on. And while we're at it, I believe next week the spring portal weekend, the spring portal window opens up. Are there going to be any ripples there?
Well, first of all, just talking about the recruiting, we're going to have a list later today, some insight there. But Jordan Edmonds, just some guys that are committed right now. Jordan Edmonds from Marietta, Georgia, 5-star corner. Chris Booker out of Atlanta, who's a 4-star offensive tackle that's committed, or offensive lineman. He can play several spots, probably maybe even interior. Zion Gibson, cornerback out of Gadsden, a 4-star rated player. He's coming in now. Some of the top guys. E.J. Croyle, the running back from Jackson, Alabama, who's very, very highly regarded. Sincere Johnson's a linebacker out of Glenville, Ohio, which is the Cleveland area. Highly recruited player. Now, people say, listen, he's right there in Ohio State's backyard. That school has sent a lot of kids to Ohio State. That's right. But don't forget now, Alabama went to Ohio last year and got Justin Hill, the outside linebacker, and took him right away from Ohio State. So Alabama has had some success there. Some other guys, look, we talk about defensive linemen all the time, right? I mean, we talk about the need for those guys. Titan Davis, who is a defensive lineman out of St. Louis, he's already been here this spring. He's coming back. Tyler Bacon is a defensive lineman that's committed to Tennessee from Hoover. He'll be here. Emmanuel Ruffin is a guy. You might want to mark that name down. Emmanuel Ruffin out of Bessemer. He's a guy that's going to these camps and really starting to impress people. I mean, he's got great size. I mean, he's 290 plus, maybe 300 right now or close to it. But he's starting to turn some heads. He's out of Bessemer. Alabama's already offered him. That's a guy to watch. And then Cam Johnson from Muscle Shoals is another defensive lineman that's going to be here. So they're going to have a good group. Now, that's on Saturday. They do have some guys that are expected in tomorrow. And this might be this one's interesting because Alabama is going to need a quarterback because you're not going to keep all three of these guys for next year. I'm talking about 2026.
Right.
It's going to be interesting to see how they recruit and use the portal to build their quarterback room after this next season. But Derek Zammit is from Wayne, New Jersey. He's not a really big kid. He's about 6 feet, 185, but he's a guy to watch. He'll be here tomorrow. I think Jet Washington from Las Vegas is a safety. He's a great athlete. I think he'll be in tomorrow as well. So those are a couple of guys, but it's a good group. Now, here's the thing, too. People say, well, it doesn't look like an overall big list as we've used to see. Well, a lot of that's because many of these top guys' targets that they have came in earlier in the spring. So they've been kind of coming in all spring, and you've got a lot of guys set up in June to come back for the visits. So I think Alabama's doing really, really well right now. And, and I'll say this to kind of end this deal on recruiting is Alabama looks like they're picking up some momentum in the state. So people said, what happened last year? I mean, they're in on Cedarian Morgan out of Benjamin Russell really heavily. We mentioned EJ Crowell. They've got a commitment from Zion Gibson. I think they're in really strongly with Tank Jones, Anthony Jones out of Mobile. So, I mean, they're positioned to do perhaps much better than last year. Now, as far as the portal goes.
Well, look, real quick, Barry, I mean, Rodney, just on that, as you were reeling all those players off, I'm thinking, where are all these out-of-state kids? Where are the kids from, all over the country? And I did pick up on that. A lot of kids from in-state, so I know there will be some folks happy about that. Sorry, please continue.
Yeah, no problem. So on the portal, I mean, that's going to be interesting because you don't know who you're going to lose. I mean, there could be a guy that, or two or three that just pop up that you say, man, I thought we were in good shape to keep him, because you don't ever know. So we'll have to see there. That could change, kind of the outlook on how they use the portal to bring guys in. But I would say this, a tight end, they need at least one tight end, I think. They've got a lot of injuries there right now, but I think those guys are all expected back. But I do think it may be an experienced tight end. Some people say possibly two that I've spoken with. We'll see. So tight end, I guess if you could find another experienced offensive lineman that could play tackle, one that you're not necessarily bringing in expecting to start, but be a swing guy that can kind of play multiple positions, get some time, tackle, guard, especially left tackle if needed in an emergency. I would think if you could find a defensive lineman, a big physical presence in that middle, to go with Tim Keenan, I think that would be a position you'd like to have. I've heard some buzz that even though Nakai Hill-Green, the transfer from Colorado, has looked good, these young 3 freshmen that they have looked good this spring. Abdul Sanders has had a big scrimmage. There has been some buzz that they might want to bring in another experienced inside backer.
Right.
Now, again, all these things are kind of wait and see, but that's some of the stuff I've heard on the portal.
That's a lot of stuff. That's good stuff. I like it.
Awesome.
Truly,
as always. You better believe it. That's why we have him on each and every week, brought to you exclusively by the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Rodney, you mentioned a scrimmage today, 8A festivities over the weekend. How do our viewers and listeners get more involved with what you do there at TiderInsider?
Yeah, it's TiderInsider.com. It's only $48 a year. You can get instant access with your credit card if you prefer. There is an address there to send a check. Gives you all our premium information. Again, we're going to have some recruiting stuff. The portal for basketballs, it's still kind of Jaron Stevenson just hit the portal. I hear he's headed back to North Carolina. That's kind of the word anyway. I haven't heard officially. But so that's going on. It's a lot of discussion on our Alabama community of fans there. The All Sports Forum. A lot of stuff going on. And again, it's only $48 a year.
Yeah.
It's great. TiderInsider.com. Rodney Orr, brought to you by the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Rodney, thank you so much.
Okay, guys. Appreciate it. Y'all take care.
You too, buddy. Thank you so much, Rodney Orr, the TiderInsider, brought to you exclusively by the Destin Connection Seafood Market, the freshest seafood available in the river region with deliveries daily from the Gulf of America. The Destin Connection Seafood Market, 3750 Norman Bridge Road. Call ahead. Your order will be ready for pickup, 288-4272. How about that grilled grouper po' boy today for lunch? You'll love it.
Now, John does not get a commission on the number of grilled grouper po' boys. That's just, man, that's his favorite right there. There ain't nothing wrong. There ain't nothing wrong with it. It's all amazing.
Yes.
But he's not wrong about that grilled grouper.
If you like an oyster po' boy, shrimp po' boy, hey, knock yourself out.
You do you.
You do you.
Oh, yeah.
Man, we got a lot going on. Will Fisher, the director of golf at Capitol Hill on the RTJ Trail, is going to join us when we get back. Bart Hyche in about 12 to 15 minutes. He'll wrap up basketball with us. So we got a lot going on left on the program today.
Yep, in association with Yellowhammer News, Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Internet
then what do you say we just keep on going?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we can certainly do that.
Yes.
We can certainly do that. Portal. the portal opens up next week, and I guess it's hard to say, well, this guy's jumping in the portal. I mean, you wouldn't say it now if you're still on the team. But I'll be very interested to see how many portal, I don't want to say issues, but portal guys, but Alabama and Auburn are going to have when it opens next week.
I know that Auburn is losing somebody from the portal. I know Ja'Kai Howard, the guy who got in the fight and the plane on the way to Houston that time, he is entering the portal. He mentioned Jaron Stevenson entered the portal. He's from Chapel Hill. It's an Alabama deal here. He's from Chapel Hill. He might be going back to North Carolina. That's what, the smart money says. They've already lost Mo Diabate. He's going to Kentucky. It happens. Nobody doesn't have to deal with losing people from the portal. It's basketball. It's about to be football.
Yeah.
Football after spring practice, portal opens right up. And we're already starting to see a little bit of that. Can't remember the name of the kid who has entered the portal from like Ohio State or something like that. And the reason why, John, he sees the writing on the wall. He's looking around, and these are the ones I really kind of don't trust. He's looking around, and he's saying, man, I'm getting beaten out by a freshman. And here I am in my third year. This guy's getting more reps than me. He's playing better than me. And they're already getting out. I mean, they're entering the portal while spring practice is still going on. Said, I'm out. Let me go ahead and get a head start on everybody. You obviously can't enter the portal until it opens, but they're announcing their intention to enter into the portal. And it's because it opens next week.
I believe it opens Wednesday, I think.
It opens next week, and it doesn't stay open for very long, but you're starting to see that. Guys are looking around and saying, man, spring ain't going as well for me as it is for that other guy at my position. And this is what I don't like about it. Instead of, lacing your shoelaces up a little tighter, pulling your chin strap up a little tighter and competing down the stretch. Well, he ain't taking my job. That's my job. They're saying, hey, what about the University of Texas at El Paso? I think, what about this? Let me cut and run now instead of competing and giving my best chance until after spring and then, see what my options are. I mean, they're cutting loose right now and getting out.
Yeah. I'm surprised, and maybe this is coming. Somebody out there is going to figure this out. Or I've given somebody a business opportunity, I guess. I really don't care enough about to do it. But odds boards and predictions of who's going to enter the portal. I mean, I'm maybe on some website or at TiderInsider, somebody said, hey, this guy's jumping ship. He's going to enter the portal. This guy, I got to think, Barry, that, I mean, they're kids at every school. They can't wait for next Wednesday to get here. They're biding their time, not saying anything.
Yeah.
But, they're going to be players at Auburn, Alabama, maybe some that aren't as well known. Maybe some will be.
Who knows?
But that portal, I'm going to be real interested to see who's leaving.
And the timing of it is odd, because here's what the coaches are doing. They're looking around too. They're thinking, man, our tight ends stink. I hope we can get a tight end with some experience that can come in and we can plug in right away. Because I don't care what system you're used to, what area you're used to, or the method of practice that you're used to. It is hard to come in to a brand new program in late April, just in time for summer workouts and trying to get up to speed by fall workouts to where you can have a significant impact and be a difference maker in the fall. It ain't easy to do that. It's not the optimal way to get things done, but that's what people are doing. They're getting in these coaches' meetings with their whiteboards and saying, okay, boys, where are we deficient? Where do we need to go shopping? It's like, in your family. When I was growing up, it was my mom. She's looking in the cupboard. She said, okay, we need some rice. Oh, man, I didn't realize this, but we're low on sugar. We need to go get some sugar. Golly, yeah, Barry's eating all the bread, so we got to go get some bread, stuff like that. That's what they're doing in football. They're looking in the cupboard and they're saying, boy, I don't like our tight end. Man, that guy is soft. Let's go get a tight end, a couple of defensive tackles. Let's shop around, see if we can get a good bargain at punter. That's all they're doing, John, is they're shopping and they're trying to find some bargains out there.
Well, and Casino Greg with an interesting question. What about the wheeling and dealing that's going on now? I mean, we're naive if we don't think that's going on. Somebody's in the ear of some of these players, and you can kind of, water down your spring football weekend all you want, but these staffs aren't stupid. They know what teams have players that maybe aren't getting the playing time they thought they would, or, hearing through the grapevine, this guy's not happy, or maybe these teams are willing to financially compensate them a little more than where they're previously what they're previously getting, whatever it may be. So, I think there's probably a lot of wheeling and dealing and a lot of behind-the-scenes conversations going on.
There is nothing against the rules, or it is against the rules for schools to contact student athletes if they're not in the portal. That's what the portal is for. Hey, I'm in the portal. Now you can contact me. It is against the rules for schools to contact a player who's not in the portal. It is not against the rule to contact a player who is not in the portal's uncle. It's not against the rules for a school or representatives of a school to contact a player who's not in the portal's pastor.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just saying, if he ain't happy, I'm not saying he's, we want him in the portal or as soon as he gets in the portal. But if he ain't happy, I tell you what you can do. You tell him, just in passing, that if he were to enter the portal, we would be very interested. Very interested. And we'll make it, worth his while. There's nothing in the rule book that says you cannot talk to somebody who's not a student athlete, who's not a prospective student athlete, who's not in the portal, who's not a football player.
Yep.
You can talk to them and pass the message along that, hey, if you ever do, we'll be glad to talk with you.
We sure will.
It's like those cold callers for real estate. I get texts every once in a while. Hey, Barry, I'm so-and-so and such, and we're admiring your house over there, in Troy. If you ever were to think of selling your home, we'd like to be able to sit and talk with you about it. And that's all this is.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So
and that is all that it is. So, I think next week is going to be real exciting and interesting to see who's jumping in, maybe what schools are looking for particular players. Real interesting. Over at Augusta National, where Zach Johnson is got the lead with Chris Kirk.
Nope, not James Tiberius, but Chris Kirk. They are both at 2 under through 4. Mike Weir 1 under. Danny Willett, remember him?
Danny
1
Willett.
under. Bernard Longer is 1 under. I like
Fred Couples 1 under. Yeah. Man, Fred Couples birdied the first hole. Way to go, Freddie. So, it looks like conditions are perfect today to shoot some low numbers over at Augusta National with players already on the course. So I guess, Barry, this is a time for me to go ahead and give my prediction.
I got one, too. Because mine is teeing off in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think he is let's see here. Let me make sure I got it. Here it is. Here are the odds boards. All right. Okay. We're looking to see what Bart Hyche is going to give us for his prediction. All right, Barry, this guy, I've been talking and looking at his game for over a year. I predicted him last Memorial Day weekend to win the Masters in 2025. He is in the field at 33-1. The only thing that concerns me is I read earlier this week, he has put a new driver and putter in his bag this week.
This week?
This week.
It's making its debut
this
at
week.
Augusta National?
I think he has toyed around with these clubs in prior events. I don't know if he's ever used them at Augusta National, but he's going to use them this week. New putter. Well, I wouldn't say new. It's just something that's been in the closet for a while. He's dusted it off and bringing it back. I'm going with Victor Hovland at 33-1 to get the green jacket. I do, Barry, also like Shane Lowry, who you mentioned earlier in the week at 35-1. His track record at Augusta has been very impressive. So that's my 1-2 punch. Victor Hovland, Shane Lowry. You can have all the Scotty Schefflers and Greg and Roy McIlroys you want. I'm going with those two guys.
Give me Colin Morikawa, who tees off in about 12 minutes from right now. And in second place, I'm going with Tony Finau, who tees off in about an hour.
Tony,
because I like it.
Okay.
Isn't Finau the guy who almost broke his ankle one time on running down
the par 3?
That's right.
Hey, do we know? I didn't check who won the par 3 yesterday.
Yes. It's a guy I'd never heard of before. Nico somebody.
He got a prayer.
Yeah.
Now, I did see
nobody ever wins that. Yeah. Nico Echevarria?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the raunchy chick from Bavaria?
No, that's Arantxa Sanchez.
Oh.
Vicario, yeah.
So I will say this before we go to break. I know Bart Hyche is in the green room. He's about to join us.
Hopefully.
These young players, I got to tell you, I guess we're older, but man, these young players, they got some pretty cute wives. I can't remember who the player was, but his wife, so-called caddy during the par 3 tournament, she steps up on one of the tee boxes and hits a shot to about 2 feet. I'm thinking, girl's got game.
Keeper.
She's got her white jumpsuit on.
I was about to say, do you have to wear the jumpsuit and the green hat?
Yes.
That'd be a deal breaker for me.
Yeah, she's got the white jumpsuit. I mean, even the little kids have the jumpsuits on. It's amazing. It's awesome. All right, so there you have our picks. I'm looking forward to see who Bart's going to pick, but we're going to get a wrap-up of college basketball this season with him as well when we return.
Yep, Bart Hyche joins us when we continue on Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Oh, I was hopeful.
Well, I was hopeful too.
Yeah, so was I.
Wonder, well, we'll go to Bart then. Maybe he I know there's some internet issues, I believe. And we'll get to him there in just a moment.
Yeah,
there he is.
Yeah, he's going to get some coffee and everything. Loaded up, caffeinated. Yeah, I like it. Bart Hyche joins us to put a wrapper on the college basketball season. And we get into the offseason with all of the transfer portal. Florida Gators are the national champions, Bart. How surprised are you about that, if at all?
Not surprised, really. Glad to be with you guys. I feel like they won this thing and didn't play their best. And to me, that shows how good they are. They played their best at times in certain stretches of games for short stretches and second halves in those last 2 games. And then even in the UConn game, they had to come back and win. But when you're that talented and when you've got a guy that you can just always trust to go get you buckets when it matters, that's a known thing that, like, we got to scheme and beat this guy and keep him out of the game. And Kelvin Sampson did that a long time for Houston. But I thought Todd Golden did a really good job offensively in his actions, in the angles. Instead of letting Clayton come off a dribble ball screen, they started playing through the big and using handoffs and handbacks. And you can't double those handbacks because the ball's not coming off of it. That can just be a fake handback, dribble drive. Florida went small. And when Florida went small, that forced Houston to have their bigs out on the perimeter dealing with all those handbags. That's where you saw those curl cuts come for Clayton, for Martin a couple of times. They would lift the corner, and there's no help in the middle because Florida's 4 out one end, and those Houston bigs just couldn't really – it was just kind of a tricky thing in the second half. And then you saw everything open up when they got away from the dribble ball screen action. Houston did a great job of that, and they took that away. Florida adjusted. But am I surprised? No. But as I told you guys, Richard or Condon or somebody like that would have to play well, that third guy for Florida to win. And I thought Will Richard was just really stepped up to the occasion. And it's heartbreaking for Kelvin just because everybody loves him in the coaching community and everybody would like to see him win and just to see himself not get a shot. I do think that he is taking a little bit too much flack because any shooter knows that when you open up and you turn and you see space, if you can't get it off and there's a defender coming, that's just a simple shot fake right there. One dribble, plenty of time, would have had a game winner. But it didn't work out. But am I surprised? No. Florida was the best team collectively, in my opinion, at times overall this season.
What makes them the best team in the second half? I mean, you look back at their run in the NCAA tournament, UConn, Texas Tech, Auburn, the Houston, they're behind, but they found a way to come back to win.
A couple of things. Depth, number one, that you can always go to different lineups. Again, bringing Aberdeen in the game and going small away from having two bigs changed the course of the game. Houston was up 9 or 10 at that time. And then things just, the flow got better. And Aberdeen didn't score a ton of points in this tournament. But if you go back and look at when they made runs, Aberdeen was in the game, making plays, being a matchup problem. Florida also, I felt like, really locked down in the second half, like 10 minutes to go in games. After those 8 timeouts, it was just a different mentality defensively coming out for Todd Golden's team. I didn't think that – I just don't think you can keep relying on a guy over and over and over to continue to give you buckets. But when he does, you just got to keep going to him. But back to the point of Golden opening up the offense, letting Will get downhill and not be able to have to deal with that double team. The first one was when he got in the lane off of it and got a foul. And he got the free throw line and saw one go in. It was when that happened, Florida started guarding. The flow got better. Clayton Jr. started scoring. But the main thing, John, and this is what the problem I have with guys like Rick Barnes, guys like John Calipari, going back to that soapbox, it's adjustments in the NCAA tournament. Go back and look at these Florida games and see how many adjustments Todd Golden made against Connecticut, against Auburn, and against Houston to win these games offensively when he started putting different personnel and different guys in different places. Todd Golden may be one of the best offensive coaches in the country that we haven't talked about and don't know about just because he hasn't been around that long.
Yeah. You say that you can't keep relying on, player to get buckets over and over again. In 1995 at Winfield, they had a bank they could go to, right? 94 and 95, they know they needed a bucket. They went to 22, right? That bank always paid off.
To get you to the state finals, but then if you wanted to win the state finals, you might have needed to have something else in that chamber. Barry, did you? They say I'm guessing y'all might have seen the. I don't know if y'all saw the post. There's a 1993 Winfield versus East Limestone game floating around Facebook.
Okay, all right.
From the parquet floor at Coleman Coliseum. Hell, I think that's before it was named Coleman Coliseum, John.
I wouldn't go there. It was still Memorial Coliseum. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
It was the snowstorm year. But no, but to the point, I want to go back to my comparison on who I think he is. A lot of people are trying to give Walter Clayton Jr. the comparison of Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, Chris Jackson. Y'all need to stop that. He ain't all that. Let's not go crazy.
Chris Jackson, who had 55 in his true freshman year.
3 different times his freshman year. I went and saw. My mom took me to see him at Auburn. Drove 3 hours to watch him play. He ain't Chris Jackson, but I tell you who he might be. And people would think, whoa, you think Chris Jackson is better than Dame Lillard? Yes, I do. Dame Lillard, though, is my comparison to Walter Clayton Jr., very similar size, likes to take the big shot. So instead of it could be Walt time instead of Dame time. But I like that comparison because the way the game has changed more so to Dame Lillard than I do Chris Jackson. But I do see the similarities in Jackson. But, guys, he's a dude. And like that mentality, like you were talking about, I used to have it. Like the point I heard Ron Slay say, this is great, guys. Walter Clayton got to a point to where there was no defense in front of him. I mean, it didn't matter any time. He knew he could get where he wanted to go to his spot and then just create. And that's a confidence thing. John, it's like your putter when you know what the line's going to do. It's exactly that. It's just absolutely making buckets from anywhere.
Yeah.
Bart, I'm just curious your thoughts about what happened to Auburn in that second half. We know Florida. We talked about how they make adjustments, their bench play. We get that. I thought when Florida went on that run to tie it up, I mean, you hear it, the first 3 minutes of the second half, huge. Florida took advantage of it. Pearl didn't call a timeout. I thought that was interesting. And then after the game, he talked about only having 7 players to play in that game, which, all year I've been talking about how deep I thought Auburn's bench was and they can rotate players in. What were your thoughts about what happened to Auburn in the second half in that loss to Florida?
I don't think they were 100% healthy. I told y'all that. I don't think Broom was 100% healthy. I don't think I thought Baker Mazar played better, but I still don't think he was healthy. But I think what it goes to show is that it was false depth a little bit with Auburn throughout the course of the year, that when everything's rolling good and your rotation's going great and you're not in foul trouble, right, and you're making shots, everything's more comfortable and a lot more guys can play. But when you started getting into this later runs, Florida was a bad matchup for Auburn. That's what he's talking
You've told us that.
Yeah. And it was just that the bigs, Auburn's got 3 bigs, Florida's got 4. Florida's guards were better than Auburn's. I don't know that anybody would argue that point. But when I say guards, I'm talking about, would you take Martin over Baker Mazara, right? Would you take Will Richard over Kelly? Yeah, I would take both of those the way Baker Mazara was playing, right? So if your starters aren't elevated up to play against those guys, how are you going to bring your bench in? And it was a lot of role play for that Auburn bench throughout the course of the year when they were getting up and down and getting up and down and getting up and down. A lot of times when you're getting up and down too, you need a break. And I think Auburn was doing that at home. They were running, they were getting out. You would see guys tap their head. In games like they played against Florida, the tempo wasn't that fast, and so there wasn't really a reason for him to sub a lot and get guys breaks. But Auburn wasn't nearly as deep as we thought they were, and Florida was all year long. That's what, back to your question, John, they had a guy, but the depth just flat out wore people out. It's exactly like Alabama and Georgia in football with those defensive lines that you saw for years, people just rotating in and out with all the stockpile talent. The only difference is these guys that Todd Golden had weren't 5-star recruits. He knows what ingredients look like, and he knows what the system looks like, and he went and found the pieces for it.
And that's maybe partly attributable to Bruce Pearl there. All right, Bart Hyche with us. One quick top of your mind awareness on this. Will buckyball work at Texas A&M?
Got to get players, and he's behind the 8 ball. And man, he may be coming after one of ours. You, John, and Bucky, and Will Wade coming after Keyshawn Murphy. But he's got to get guys, and they've got one player right now. One. That's it. Everybody's gone. What do the relationships look like? How does that assistant coaching carousel settle into College Station? Bucky's going to have to hire a couple of guys he don't know. Okay? That ain't been the case. He knows all the guys in his circle. He's going to take some people with him, obviously. I think it works fine if you get players. And the difference in getting players at Mountain Brook or at Sanford or anywhere else is that everybody else is getting them at a high or higher level. Sanford's always been, since he got there, one of the top teams in the conference, right? He could go out and recruit and feel like that his pitch, his system, it's different. The energy, it's small school. It's everybody in the SEC's got a big crowd coming. Everybody in the SEC's got dudes that can go get buckets and beat you and has pros. So I think one of the biggest things for Buck that people are not realizing why I think it works. I think he's a marketing genius. And I think what he did at Mountain Brook, hey, John, you know your old Doc Artie over there. He's over there in that weird Mountain Brook crew. That's a different bunch of folks over there, dog.
Yeah.
It's a different bunch of folks. Guess what? A&M's a different bunch of folks too. That's not throwing shade. That's just saying it's different lifestyle, different personality, different things that you're into. Bucky's kind of different too. He's from Mountain Brook. It's a fit. It's a fit if he doesn't get locked out of the state of Texas from high school coaches. That's a huge, huge deal that happened to Tony Barbie. I remember Tony Barbie went down to recruit. What was the kid's name at Centerville at Bibb County? Purifoy. Goes down there to recruit Purifoy, and Purifoy's high school coach, when he walks in, has got on the Alabama shirt. What's Bucky going to do when he walks in somewhere and it's hook 'em? I mean, that's a real thing.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Texas is big. How he recruits is the whole key, because if he gets guys on that team, y'all are going to see offense, defense come to the SEC, and it's going to be a great style of basketball.
So why did Buzz Williams leave? And were you surprised?
No, it's Buzz being Buzz, man. He was at Marquette. He was actually, his favorite place to be was ever at Marquette because it wasn't football. People don't remember. I remember being in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in West Allis up at my corporate when I was up there learning how to teach Doc Artie how to sell dental, how to do dental work.
Yeah.
And
hey, we still need some help on that.
And I'm sitting down. I went by myself to the game. Nobody else wanted to go to an NBA game. So I drove the van, which is probably dangerous, by myself and sat right down behind the basket. And Buzz come walking in. This dude's got 2 phones working. He's having one conversation, and I'm sitting there watching him. It's just astonishing. Well, then, like the next year, he leaves and goes to Virginia Tech because there was money involved. It was the ACC. I don't think the Big East was kind of where it is now. Then the A&M job was just a dream, right? The money, the SEC, all of that. But it ain't no basketball school, man. It's a football school, and he never really felt like he could get over that hump with football being the most important. I think that had a lot to do with Buzz leaving. But at the same time, SEC to Big Ten is okay. Big Ten to SEC is okay. That's where the money is. It's where you're going to see the players go back and forth too. That's a lateral move. Anywhere else is really not. But, Buzz likes to change, and things got stale a little bit. Now, one thing I do want to keep an eye on, I want you to go back and watch the Twitter feed of when Bucky walks in to Kyle Field.
All right.
He walks into Kyle Field and he goes, oh, whoa. That dude's been to Bryant-Denny. He's a Bama fan. That dude's been to college. What was that? Oh, whoa. It ain't because of how big time that stadium is.
No.
But it might have just been a moment like, well, football really is like it is at Alabama. Yeah. I hadn't talked to him in that sense. I don't know. That's not something I've asked him. But the football obstacle, getting over to answer that, that's why Buzz left. But Buzz likes a refresher. He's not a guy that's going to stay if he's not welcome. He's not. And he knew that it was kind of getting a little stale out there at A&M, and it was a good time to leave.
Yeah. Always good time to visit with you. We appreciate all the basketball stuff, Bart. Very, very much.
Man. We've always enjoyed it. Yes, please. Who you got? Yes.
I got 2 guys. I got a long shot, and then I've got somewhat of a favorite. Guys, I like JT this weekend. I like Justin Thomas this weekend. Nobody's talked about him. I still think he's talented. I know it's crazy, but I like what he's done on the ESPN stuff. The putter, if you make putts on that thing, you can make putts anywhere. And it might be JT time to break through. Another guy that's on there that I think's playing well, that's a competitor that I've been expecting to break through and win a major. It's not really the right course for him to. At 100, and I think it's like 75-1 is Billy Horschel. I think Billy Horschel's a great ball striker. And this golf course is about what, John Barry? the second shot. You've got to be able to control your irons and hit it in the right places. And then somebody's putter's just got to get hot.
Yeah. Short game's key at Augusta. You can hit it everywhere, but you got to be able to. Your short game has got to be razor sharp.
If you miss in a place, the short game has to come in. If you're missing some spots and you can't hit it where you're supposed to, and you're not getting it up and down, I mean, you're looking at plus 12s and plus 13. Yeah. So it's a beautiful place.
The thing about JT, and I'm with you. To me, JT just gets on a streak in tournaments and he'll have one or two bad holes and then the bottom falls out. If he can avoid those really bad holes, making a double somewhere, hitting an OB, whatever it may be, which, there's no out of bounds at Augusta, so that shouldn't be a problem, but you just can't take that big number. And he played in a tournament a couple of weeks ago and had a lead and double bogeyed 17, something like that, and was out of contention. I'm with you. I think he's playing well enough to win. You just got to avoid the bad holes.
This is why y'all asked me about basketball and not golf.
we do enjoy asking you about basketball. Yeah.
All right, guys.
Man, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, man, we certainly enjoy having y'all during the basketball season. We'll definitely touch base throughout the summer and get your input. Maybe get a little football insight from you as well in the fall. But we greatly appreciate it.
I can give you all the fantasy knowledge you need. All the fantasy knowledge you need.
There you go. Appreciate you, Bart.
All right, guys. Y'all are the best.
Take care.
Thank you, buddy. Bart Hyche 22 joining us here today on the program, and always a big part of what we do. I've been checking out the chats. Yeah, how about that?
Right, yeah,
no kidding.
Right.
Yeah, I've heard some JT picks. I'd like to see him win it as well. Everybody's on Rory. They love him too. I don't know. Rory's playing well. Scheffler, I think's just, he's the number one player. I get it. I'm just sensing somebody that nobody's thinking about. Victor Hovland, maybe, is your guy. We'll see. Is Tony Barbie's looking for a job? I see that on the chat line.
Yeah, really? He is.
Or is it Tony Barbie? How do you pronounce his name?
It's always been Barbie. Yeah. He used to be the head coach at Central Michigan, but he was there for 4 years. He wasn't especially successful, and they have cut him loose.
I hate to hear that.
He's been the head coach at Auburn, been the head coach at UTEP. I didn't know that. You know what's bad whenever you go to a rural high school to recruit a player and the head coach greets you with a sweatshirt on of your biggest rival. I guess that kind of gives you the tone of his mindset.
Yeah, how do you change your game plan? I mean, you're all excited. You're going to recruit this kid. You'll walk into the gym, and the head coach has on Bama gear. I mean, what do you do?
This is basically from his time at Auburn, which was not very good at all. This is basically the fan reaction to him. Dennis Mitchell, I don't know that I could have said it any better than that.
I mean, Dennis, come on, man. What I want to know is who was the guy, the commentator? I think it was the SEC. Was the SEC network even on when Barbie was at Auburn?
It was. Yeah. And his name was Dave Neal. Still
Dave
is Dave Neal.
Yeah. And
he could not get Barbie right.
And he's calling this guy Tony Barbie the whole game.
Like he's got some sort of a French accent. Tony Barbie, he, Italian or something. It's Barbie, just like the dog. Barbie.
I wrote that down. Barbie. I went, this is classic. I can't wait to start calling him Tony Barbie.
Well, thanks to Jason Caldwell for joining us. Auburn Undercover.com, Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com, Bart Hyche, our guy from Hyche Hoops with his swan song until maybe the fall. Yeah. Tomorrow, you're going to be on the road again, right?
I will be. I'll be at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville, Alabama. Looking forward to being up there where Price sells cars. Going to tell you all about the great deals at Stivers, Alabama and Northwest Florida's largest volume Ram truck dealer. We're going to be telling you all about those good things. Also, Barry, before we wrap up, check this out. We have an amateur tied for the lead at Augusta. Noah Kent, 2 under, joining Chris Kirk and Zach Johnson in the early going here, and one of our chat room guys said, what the heck, is this the Senior Masters? Fred Couples, Bernard Longer, only one shot back. How about it for the old guys?
Noah Kent is an amateur. Sounds like Noah Count. He is a golfer at the University of Florida.
Wow.
Am I right here? Yeah. No. He has been a golfer at Iowa. And he is transferred to Florida, and he'll be able to compete this coming fall. Iowa golf. Are there any good golf courses in Iowa?
Barry, I think you're hitting a lot of range balls out of a bay, they call them. So you won't get snow and wind and rain on you while you're hitting golf balls. So I don't know how that works. All right, Barry, with Troy baseball, he'll join us again tomorrow. Where will you be?
I'll be in Harrisonburg, Virginia tomorrow.
Okay.
That should be my last day of 7 straight days doing the show on the road, because I'll be back in the studio on Monday. John will be at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville for Gurn Jr. and all of our guests, and for John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.